There we go. There we have it. Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Once again, I am Ben Mitchell, the Outreach and Student Success Librarian at TRU. We are gathered on Tuesday, May 24th, and tonight we are going to play Hollow Knight while talking about insects and invertebrate facts in general, and just kind of like having a bit of a discussion about how searches are done. Oop, I'm actually going to adjust my volume here a little bit. It's kind of blasting me. And as usual, Michelle is also on chat.
Hello.
I like the music. It's good music, but I need to also hear folks. There we have it. So I don't know, how many of you have played Hollow Knight before?
Not me.
It was quite a big deal back a few years ago. It's a very pretty game. It's kind of like, it's grimdark and goth, but also chibi and bug themed at the same time. So let's just start a new game, so we can see it from the get go.
That's a particular aesthetic. It reminds me a bit of the Holly Black books. I don't know if you've read her series.
I don't think I know those ones.
Oh, it's urban fantasy, but it's sort of a dark fairy type world.
Okay.
It's fun. You can get through them pretty quickly. I would recommend them for people looking for. They're sort of upper grade YA, you know.
In the wilds beyond, they speak your name with reverence and regret. For none could tame us savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch you taught, we change-based instincts were redeemed. A world you gave to bug and beast, as they had never dreamed.
See, this does feel like a kind of dark fae vibe.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It has kind of a theme of loneliness, but because of that, I kind of only like to play it when I'm playing it with other people.
That's fair.
All right.
So, Ben, got some bug facts for us?
Do I got some bug facts for you? Well, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of bugs in the world. There's by some estimates, there are about 10 quintillion individual bugs on the planet. Quintillion. That's quintillion. Yeah, that's a real number. There's just huge in terms of biomass. There are more insects than anything else in terms of evolutionary history. For instance, beetles are there's a lot of beetle themed things, are some of the most evolutionarily successful creatures, on the planet. I don't know if you've read the Terry Pratchett, but there's one case where they meet the god of evolution, and he's just obsessed with beetles. He's just absolutely obsessed. So yeah, this is you. It's kind of like Bug Knight, mandible helmet type horns.
Oh, they are mandibles. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Wildly Average says, I've been feeling the black fly population.
I mean, that's the thing too, right? Yeah, definitely black flies. So let's have some like black fly and like mosquito facts, because like usually when people talk about like insects and like the importance or like what had their relationship to insects, it's like, I wish they would all die. I mean, that's the thing that a lot of people think. But even the bugs we don't like do serve kind of an ecological niche, because one of the things that black flies, I mean, yes, on the one hand, it's not nice being, having your blood sucked, and they can be the vectors of diseases. Oh. Higher beings, these words are for you alone. Your great strength marks you amongst us. Focus your soul and you shall achieve feats of which others can only dream. Oh yeah, I can collect souls. Thirsty.
I do like how poetic this little bug guy is. Wildly Average says, they apparently like to fly in my eyes.
I mean, yeah, that's profoundly uncomfortable. But one of the things that like these kinds of blood-sucking insects do is that they actually filter in like proteins back into the ecosystem, right? The kinds of like proteinaceous material that otherwise would have to, like, in order to get back to that kind of like primary place in the ecosystem, in which creatures would have to like die and decompose. It kind of like expedites that cycle, if that makes sense. But also, like, insects are hugely important for like how like nutrients get recycled back into the environment. So I think this is a safe for work bug fact. One of the things I've been reading this book that's really interesting but also kind of grim, like a lot of things that I encounter. And it's called Silent Earth, and it's actually all about humans' relationship to insects, and particularly in the context of a lot of environmental crises. And one of the bug facts he has is actually like, you know, insects are responsible for breaking down a lot of the dung and droppings of animals and breaking that back into a form that like can be used in the environment, or even like fallen trees. Aha! I still have to go down that hole. I think I wasn't that clever. Fallen trees like pill bugs are super important for that. Oh, I could have gotten over there. Oh well, missed my opportunity. But one of the things you don't think about it, for instance, is like, you know, Australia. I mean, you know, Australia, when you think about, this is going to be a funny anecdote, but when you think about like the droppings of marsupials, that will just kill me. I can't get across there. When you think about the droppings of marsupials, they're really dry, right? Because Australia, by and large, is a very arid environment. But what that means is that most of the insects that like co-evolved with marsupials to like break down their droppings couldn't deal with cow droppings, like cow patties. So when Europeans, you know, introduced cattle in vast numbers to Australia, I think this was in like the 1940s and 50s, they were in danger of being drowned in cow patties because none of the insects would start the process to actually break it down in their environment. They had to actually import a whole bunch of different species of dung beetle to actually incorporate that material back into the environment in a way that could actually be biologically useful and used.
I never would have thought of that.
Higher beings, these words are for you alone. Beyond this point, you enter the land of King and Creator. Step across this threshold and obey our laws. Bear witness to the last and only civilization, eternal kingdom, Hallow Nest. But yeah, so that's one bug fact thing about dung beetles. They actually like serve quite an important role in recycling of nutrients back into the environment. Rah, this is how everyone opens a door. There we go. So that's one
Boy,
bug
I would
fact.
not have been happy to be in the ecological crisis that is cow patties.
Indeed. But
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not happy to be in the ecological crisis that is anything happening today, but that one sounds particularly unpleasant.
Yeah, like, I admit I didn't do a lot of research for this one. It's been a bit of an interesting and good, bad, complicated week. Oh, what's going on? My control.
Yes, you were talking at a conference earlier this week.
What's wrong with my controller?
It wants you to fall to the ground. That's what.
Oh, weird. Just stopped working for me for a second there. Dirtmouth, Nova Scotia. Sorry, that's Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Let's talk to this fellow. I really love it when they don't actually speak in a language you understand, but then it's translated for you. The Elder Bug. Hello there, traveller. I'm afraid there's only me left to offer welcome. Our town's fallen quiet, you see. The other residents, they've all disappeared. Head down that well, one by one, into the caverns below. Used to be there was a great kingdom beneath our town. It's long fell to ruin, yet it still draws folks into its depths. Wealth, glory, enlightenment, that darkness seems to promise all things. I'm sure you too seek your dreams down there. Well, watch out. It's a sickly air that fills the place. Creatures turn mad and travelers are robbed of their memories. Perhaps dreams aren't such great things after all. It's just this, like, I don't know, there's like a very gothic aesthetic to this.
I enjoyed the very Shakespearean voice for that. That was good.
This will be soon. All right, time to jump into the pit. So yeah, let's see other interesting bug facts. I mean, one of the things that I recently learned is, you think about like social insects. I mean, because I'm a bee person. Bees and ants and wasps are all related to each other, but that is not the case for termites. In fact, termites are more closely related to cockroaches.
Cockroaches have hives though? Like you listed a bunch of things that have kind of.
I think they have. I think they do have like some of them. Some species have nests. Oh, is that something that kind of skeeves you out a bit?
Oh, my last place had a lot of cockroaches.
I mean, that's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so cockroaches are like actually an interesting kind of like side branch. Oh, this is the sad caterpillar grandpa. He's looking for his baby caterpillars. We can find
that's interesting.
We can find him as baby caterpillars though. We can fix this.
Okay.
Uh-huh. But yeah, and actually some oh, boof. Ouch. Oh yeah, I've absorbed all those souls. Doop. Bug souls. And one species of actually those termites specifically live on wood are actually in evolutionary history are very good at traveling around the world, and because wood floats, and they actually have like made several ocean crossings. So when they're looking at these populations of termites. Cavacera, I do not want a scenario of cockroaches organized like ants, bad enough that they evolved into wings. I mean, that is true. The Pilgrim's Way. Travelers of Hallownest descend through the verdant wilds and fungal groves to the city at this kingdom's heart. There all wishes shall be granted, all truths revealed. So yeah, so actually some insects, even before, like humans right now are a major vector of like taking insects, all over the place. Oh, I can't do anything about you right now. But a few species of insects are actually...
And taking insects out.
Yep.
What happened? There was a lot in the news a couple years ago now about hive collapses. You're a bee guy. What was going on with that?
I mean, a lot was going on with that. I can actually save it for a bee episode at some point. But colony collapse disorder is both... Oh, my face. Is not just one thing, it's a whole bunch of things, basically. It's at the intersection of how we've been treating and instrumentalizing bees for crop pollination. It's about the spread of various bee parasites, particularly the Varroa destructor mite. No. I actually haven't played this game a lot, so I don't entirely know where I'm going. I'm just running around. There's a whole bunch of things that are contributing to colony collapse issues. And we've had a few good years, we've had a few really bad years. Right now we're having another few really bad years. Varroa destructor was actually, if I remember correctly, was originally a mite that evolved alongside an Asian species of honeybee. And because just for economic reasons, they were and in that population, it doesn't demolish them in the same way that it demolishes Apis mellifera or the European honeybee, which incidentally is a misnomer in terms of evolutionary history. They came from Africa. I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I forget exactly where. I think Eastern somewhere. But yeah, so this might, it hadn't been... Oh, I know this guy. He's humming his happy little tune. He looks almost like a weevil. Hello there. I'm down to explore these beautiful old ruins. Don't mind me. I've a fondness for exploring myself. Getting lost and finding your way again is a pleasure like no other. We're exquisitely lucky, you and I. I'm a cartographer by trade, and I'm working on mapping this area right now. Would you like to buy a copy of my work so far? Hey, I can afford it. Sweet. Take that, student loans. Alright, left bumper. But yeah, so the thing there is then it got into the population and Apis mellifera can't deal with it. Basically, they suck their bee blood out. And you can actually see them on the bees. There's very few places where Varroa destructor mites don't exist now. They only don't exist in Australia. And I think Newfoundland, actually, fortunately enough, but at time of recording.
Good.
A map can be a useful thing, but it alone won't show you where you are. If you have not the head for directions, I suggest purchasing a compass from my wife, Iselda. She's just now opening our new map shop in Dirtmouth, selling all sorts of useful things to wanderers like yourself. She'll even sell some of my old maps from time to time. I pop back to see her whenever I finish mapping an area. She's always so excited to see me. Vampire insects? I mean, there's all kinds of vampire insects. There's a lot of vampirism and, the thing with mosquitoes, right? I think if I remember correctly, all the mosquitoes that bite you are female because it's actually an important part of the reproductive cycle.
Yes, but I've never been bitten to death by a mosquito.
I mean, that's true. But if there were enough of them, it's possible.
Yes, I
Grim
have heard that there was a problem with we have more ticks because of the warming climate now, and so
Left
there
bumper.
are some animals who are being bitten to death by ticks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, moose and stuff. I've heard that.
Yeah.
Left bumper. Why is my controller not being fully cooperative? Oh, there it is. Alrighty, now it's working. I just have to hold it a bit. But yeah, so let's see other bug facts. I mean, I actually have a tape measure for this one. So I don't know if you know, but like the largest bug in history was actually a dragonfly, Megaropsis, during the Carboniferous period, where there was ostensibly more oxygen in the atmosphere. And its wingspan was almost 2.5. Where's my screen? I'm looking at so almost 2.5 feet. Like a dragonfly. Oh, actually, I guess I can't really capture it on the screen here, but like a dragonfly with a wingspan like a bald eagle almost.
Yeah, no thanks.
I guess I should have asked Michelle before like randomly picking this topic, like, are you okay with bugs?
Yeah, I'm fine. You know, the only thing I really don't like is maggots. I understand
fair.
what an important part they play in the ecosystem, and I know that they use them on some burn victims now in order to prevent infection on really delicate skin.
Yeah, I know they've definitely been used in a lot of medical purposes. So like, Cabasera, could you ride it though? Cabasera, asking the important questions. Can you ride them? the giant dragonflies, and like, if you were small, I mean, relatively small, a child. Yeah. So like, I don't know, how grimdark should we get here in terms of our bug facts? Because I have some grimdark maggot bug facts, but like, I'm going to check in with the chat. How to train your dragonfly. That's a lot more wholesome than my oh no. Oh. Oh wait.
Strap your baby to your dragonfly. Step 1.
Yeah.
Wildly Average says, I mean, if yes, then look out bald eagles. You know, I've seen some of those golden eagles from Mongolia. Again, Ben, we were talking about earlier, weird thing about Genghis Khan. Anyway,
yeah.
they have those hunting eagles over there.
Oh yeah, I've seen some really dramatic images of hunters with their eagles.
Yeah, they can fight a wolf and win.
Oh wow.
They're big.
There we go. Hey, mini boss. Okay, I will then forego the grimdark maggot facts. I don't know, they're interesting, but they're also grimdark. I don't know.
You know what?
Yep.
Go for it. It's all good.
I mean, you know, that medical application of maggots was actually first discovered in the First World War in the trenches, first of all. That they actually observed that soldiers who had maggots in their wounds actually had better health outcomes because they'd eat the decaying flesh that would otherwise putrefy.
Well, World War I is now worse than I thought it was. And great.
Also, there's a whole field actually of forensic entomology, because actually the pattern and ways in which bodies decay and what insects feed on them and what stages of their life cycle they're in, they can actually use that to kind of have a reasonably accurate picture of time of death.
That I actually knew from all of the Hannibal that I watch.
Okay.
I shouldn't be worried about maggots after all of that.
Fair. And also actually that they can actually sometimes tell the socioeconomic status of a person based on the amount of mercury in the maggots. Because if you're generally well off, you have less heavy metals in you than plebs like us.
Oh.
I don't know if that's that's a grim fact for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah. That's not really a grim fact because of bugs. That's a grim fact because of society, I'd say.
I'd honestly take maggots over mosquitoes anytime, says Cabasera. I mean, that's fair. I don't know. Having often had to clean a compost bin, like, the smell is dramatic. Let's see, what are some less terrifying insect facts? I mean, people know that, like, grasshoppers have ears. Is it their ears or their noses on their legs? There's definitely, like, insect body design is actually quite different than the mammalian plan.
I had heard about grasshoppers that there are now grasshopper farms and that you can get they sell basically grasshopper protein.
I've had crickets. I've eaten crickets before. Have we had the whole, like, me trying to eat crickets talk? Is that a conversation we've had? Is that a conversation we want to have?
Had that talk. Please tell me about you trying to eat crickets.
So, like, one of the issues with, like, I'm going to keep on going this way, I don't want to keep on by worms, speaking of which. One of the issues with modern, like, you know, agriculture and just, like, the protein versus land use is that, like, cattle are absolutely terrible for,
Yes.
you know, that balance of protein versus land use. Oh yeah, let's talk to the giant. Symbol of a stag. Stag beetle. Hello, stag beetle friend. Ding. Look at that scamper. Oh, right. Boing. Oh no, what was I talking about?
I'm sorry, you said stag beetle, and my mind was totally direct. Crickets.
Crickets,
and
yes.
how
So like,
are not-
so actually, in terms of like land use and protein amounts and all of that, eating insects is considered to be, you know, actually a very ecologically friendly form of protein intake. And there's a lot of cultures in the world that do eat insects in all forms. It's not just, you know, chocolate-covered ants, but some eat like mealworms and various kinds of grubs, and crickets are like actually a major export in some places.
Sarah asks, maggots are a more efficient source of protein than cattle?
Crickets or mealworms. Yeah, just in terms more efficient in terms of like land use and energy and resource use. So, you know, me reading this and trying to be a good person and not always succeeding, I looked into places where you could get various kind of meal grade crickets. So I got some honey garlic crickets, and I got some barbecue crickets, and I got some cricket flour.
How were the honey garlic crickets?
So it's funny you should mention that. Actually, can I even do this while gaming? It's funny you should mention that because in modern like this is kind of how ersatz are, like palettes are, right? In modern, like, you eat something that's honey garlic and you're expecting a certain flavor, right? It's actually you're expecting kind of a fake honey garlic flavor. So when you eat something that actually just tastes like honey and honey mustard. So when you actually eat something that is just honey and mustard, it's kind of surprising and off-putting on top of the flavor of crickets. So like I've never actually eaten cat food before, but like I imagine that's kind of what it tastes like. Alright, let's see what the last stag has to say. Greetings, little one. It's been an age since last I heard you, the ringing of a station bell. It echoed down the stagways and called me to you. I've grown stiff and tired over these many years, and I've forgotten much, but the sound of the bell will always call me back. These stagways stretch the depths of Hollownest. If you want to travel them, hail me from the platform. I will take you where you need to go. That doesn't help though, because that's the only platform we have right now. So yeah, so like eating insects, if you look up documentaries and YouTube videos, it is like definitely a practice. And in principle, it's a good idea. It's just, it needs to be more palatable to me right now.
Yeah.
My insect eating adventures were, yeah. I tried to like mix it into like bread, and I probably mixed too much in. I could kind of, if I mixed it into like a very sweet smoothie and like tried to like drown the flavor, I was okay. But I mean, ouch. That's, you know, its own kind of thing. Ow. Oh, time to eat some of those souls.
Yeah, I was reading an article just earlier by Scientific American talking about how we call the paleo diet, you know, the eating a lot of fermented meat, and they were suggesting that if we actually look at what, you know, our digestive system is evolved for, it hasn't really evolved since we were apes, and what apes eat is mostly vegetables and bugs.
Yeah, no, that is very true. Yeah, the early human diet was a lot of bugs. Ow, 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 ow. Oh, come on. Oh no, okay, I need to sort out what my controller's doing here because it's not doing me any favors right now. Oh no. Oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna plug this in because that was a little bit frustrating. Let's just see if that helps. Because it definitely just locked up on me. So one of the things about this game is when you die, your little soul thick crystal breaks. And you have to go back and find your body if you want your coins back. So you see the two eyes on the screen? That's where I need to go if I want to get my stuff back and be reunited with the half of me I lost in death.
Oh, interesting. And creepy. I like it.
That's how we roll. So yeah, so I mean, one of the things too, like one of the things we might want to talk about today is also like searching, right? One of the things about insects, for those who don't know, for like mosquitoes, is that they actually find you. Actually, a lot of insects detect mammals based on the carbon dioxide we give off, right? It's certainly done by mosquitoes. It's done by bed bugs as well, for instance, and also actually oftentimes how bees detect the presence of mammals. So like usually when I was looking after my bees, I'd be very mindful of my just like how heavy I was breathing. It was actually in that regard a kind of like almost calming exercise, because if I breathe too much and too heavily, it might like agitate the bees because they're like big mammal about, don't like that. There's all sorts of different chemical signals that insects use when they're kind of navigating their environment, of which carbon dioxide is one, but there's a whole bunch. So yeah, but like let's talk, I don't know, like Michelle, if you have any other bug facts. I literally just kind of like randomly thinking of stuff.
Also, reading about what makes someone more susceptible to mosquito bites, or not susceptible, more tasty to mosquitoes.
We might have read the same article.
Oh yeah, it was interesting thing. I didn't know your blood type would factor in.
Yep, blood type, whether or not you've drank beer.
Yes, we did read the same article.
We did read the same article. We have lives outside of the internet. Sure we do.
So I am at risk as an O type, but I don't drink a lot of beer, so that's good. And I might never again before I go outside.
Oh, there's the sound cue. The music gets creepier and kind of like child music box. There's my dark self. Another dark self. I run into so many of dark selves playing video games. Ow, ow, ow. Aha! And I have now conquered and consumed my dark self. In a wholesome way.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, there. Oh, gained lost ground. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the search process. I was talking to Michelle earlier about this game, and this kind of like called a Metroidvania style game. Like this particular way of navigating a map was first pioneered in Super Metroid, and I'm pretty sure Capcom kind of lifted the kind of game style directly from Super Metroid when they made Castlevania. But one of the features of the game is that you'll find when you're going through and trying like picking up the maps, finding out where you are, exploring areas. Pardon me, is what happens when I scarf down supper right before showtime. Exploring areas, you're trying to unlock different parts of the map by finding new abilities and new secrets. I just thought it was kind of an interesting kind of framing method for talking about the search process in general when you're looking for information. Oh, this is a boss. Okay, when you're looking for information when you're working on your studies. Okay, I'm going to have to concentrate a little bit here. So, Michelle, how do you feel about talking a little bit about searching while I fight this sleeping insect monster? Blah.
Hey, that's some of what I was doing this morning anyway, so that's good. When you're searching, I always tell people to use the funnel method, because you start, like in this game, mostly in the dark.
Yeah.
You're looking around. Yes. And you want to start really, really broadly because you don't know what's going on. So you're basically, in terms of picturing it physically, trying to get a lay of the land to figure out where you need to go. And this is always the most frustrating part of the search for me, because I like it when you're getting down onto like interesting routes, as opposed to at the beginning when you're still trying to figure out there's so much information to parse through, what roads you should look down. There are just, again, so many that it can be a very frustrating part. That's why we have all of our filters, which you'll usually find on the side of your databases to narrow things down. And your Booleans, they're my
Booleans.
favorite.
I shared the link to ZomBool in the Trusu Gaming Club's Discord.
Oh, perfect. I get extremely complicated with them, but basically they're just word math. They're a word math way of limiting or enlarging your search results. But you start off with this big, broad map and no idea where to go on it, and that's why you have to start with your secondary resources, and they take you to where you're gonna find your more useful information and your more drilled down maps. There, that's my metaphor, Ben. You want to pick
Big
it back
steps.
up?
Sure, first of all, oh, Oro, you oaf. You wield your nail like a club. Ask me, how much deeper do we have to go? What? Who are you? I see, this old village. What a strange dream to have led me down here. If you hadn't found me, I don't think I would have ever woken. I'm Sly. Usually I live an uneventful life up in Dirtmouth. The air in these ruins doesn't agree with me, so I'd best get back. If you return above, come and see me. I'm probably the friendliest face left, and I can thank you properly for your good deed. So, there's a lot of ways to approach searching, and I'm going to be a little bit messier and feral, I think, than you're advising there, Michelle. Because one of the things, I'm a very kind of scattered searcher. But I learned in library school that there's such a thing as a valid search strategy called serendipitous discovery, of where you're just kind of exploring around and then you're finding connections to draw from as you kind of very rapidly just poke around and explore everywhere. So generally when students are just trying to get a start in a plain text language, I do think actually, and this is perhaps heresy, I do think it's valid to just quickly go to Google or quickly go to Wikipedia and just start to get yourself thinking about things. It's not this.
Oh no, that is what I told the class today, and I'm not sure whether the teacher was happy with me or not. But go to Wikipedia, get a sense of the topic and its broad strokes, so that you have a large picture of the map in your brain that you can work.
Yeah. So you're just kind of running around. Because one of the things, you have to build up that picture, right? I'm going to keep on circling back into places I've already been until I actually get a more developed sense of what the landscape, either the research landscape or the dungeon landscape, looks like. And then slowly over time, just by familiarity alone, I start to get a better picture of how I relate to it. And even what places I want to explore and what places I'm oh no, that's boring, or I've already been there before, that was a false lead. Or, I have all this money, I'm going to buy a compass so that I know exactly where I am on the map rather than trying to guess what I think I'll do next.
All this money, I'm going to buy a subscription to a journal that I need.
And as we've talked about before, it can be a lot cheaper to buy an individual subscription than it is for a library to buy that subscription.
Yeah.
It's another section of the map, isn't it? But yeah, so initially it's okay to be kind of sloppy and messy and go around and just see what kind of connects with you. But you don't want to stay in that place, right? Even in terms of Let's Plays, if you saw me just kind of running around the same places over and over again because I was too busy trying to talk while game and doing both things kind of poorly, eventually you'd get bored. Whereas, after a little bit of time of getting oriented, you want to start being a little bit more strategic in your search, and that's where okay, you've been able to find some search terms. Will you just take me back up to the surface, friend? Will you go anywhere? No. This is the closest to the entrance. Yeah, so you get a sense of those search terms. You get a sense of what kind of journals might be available to you, what kind of databases. Because again, right, you're not alone in your search. You also have the library, so you can either ask a librarian or check out some of our libguides that have specific databases that are maybe relevant to what you're looking for. And the advantage of some of these, oh, he's another baddie that I need to deal with. The advantage of some of these libguides is that they've already referencing specific special databases, because our Discover search connects to all of these databases, but you're also going to get a whole bunch of things that you don't want. You can use limiters and say not this and not that, but sometimes you can do searches in the databases, even like narrow down some of the like the logical terms that you can't narrow down through our Discover service. For instance, I want also the business liaison librarian. If you use something like business source complete, you can actually like limit it by like the tagged identifier term of like specific company, right? So if you're looking for something like say the Gap or the source or any of those things, if you try to enter that into our basic search, you're going to get the Gap. I mean, the Gap could refer to all sorts of things, or the Bay. The Bay could refer to like any kind of geographic feature. Whereas if you go directly to business source complete and look under the corporate entity tag, you can know that that will only return you things that are related to that company. All right, let's scramble. Oof. Oh.
And similarly, speaking of that and speaking of Boolean operators, I particularly like that Canly, which is my favorite database. It's a law database, for those of you who couldn't guess that. But it's really spectacular for the amount of Boolean operators it allows. If you're very comfortable with them, you can do extremely precise searches. And our discovery source doesn't allow for that because most places don't allow for the number of operators that are in some of the really academic databases.
Mm-hmm.
I particularly like the near Boolean operators when they allow for that, and the parentheses so that I can just go on a terribly long string and keep adding things.
Yeah.
But the near ones are, so you want word A within a certain number of words of word B.
Oh, interesting.
And, yeah, that one is spectacular. So it's not just like, I'm looking for best interests of the child and I'm looking for hockey in the same case. No, I want those to be probably within the same sentence to make sure that it's not the child plays hockey and we're dealing with that as a separate issue from the best interest of the child. I want to know how those are related.
Oh no, false knight. Sorry, I knew something was going to happen, but I forgot how dramatic he could be.
There we go.
No.
So if I want it to be within the same sentence, I would, count out how would I phrase this? Think about how the sentence would go. Maybe it's going to be within the same paragraph. That's usually 200 to 225 words if it's a wordy person, which most judges are. No offense. So you can say, okay, I want the phrase best interest of the child within 200 words, let's say, of the word hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And it narrows things down so wonderfully if you've got a full text search. I'm sure everyone in the chat has been bored to tears by my going off about Boolean operators and how much I love them.
This is some advanced searching stuff you're talking about too. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let him just rage it out. But yeah, for some. Oh my.
That's how my friends have to deal with me. Let them rage it out. Okay, go over here. Talking about copyright.
Yeah, well, I mean, fair. There's a lot of things to rage about with copyright. Oof, my face. Yeah, no, trying to think about information literacy and search skills.
I mean, a lot of it comes down to thinking about, once you've got your keywords, which you can pick up from, say, your Wikipedia or your secondary sources, or, again, heresy. I used to look up cases and just shoot all of the cases, figure out from there what my keywords are, and then sometimes go to my secondary resources or secondary sources as well. So once you've got your keywords, I don't know where I was going with this. He started jumping on his head, and I really lost my train of thought.
That is
he a little
fair.
Ghost man in the armor?
He's a little bug occupying the armor. I'm not exactly sure what he's supposed to be, some kind of worm or something. Oh, there's so many worms that. Okay, insect parasites are. Why do I only know fascinating but horrific anecdotes. Anyway, there's a lot of really dramatic insect parasites.
Yes, my friend picked up a tapeworm in Cuba.
Oh no, I was thinking of parasites that infect insects, but you're right, they also affect humans. Oh no, what have I done?
Yes, they do. They made her not eat for a week, and then they put a piece of meat beside her mouth.
Oh no, I thought that was an urban myth.
No, the doctors really, really did that to her. She didn't say whether she was out or not. I didn't ask. I think my brain deactivated partway through.
I mean, fair. Sometimes it tries to protect you.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah, searching. Searching
for a way out of that.
Mental image. Okay. Let's see. What other things can we talk about? Searches.
Well, I'd say your keywords are like your compass. And apply that to your map that you're building.
Yeah, I'm going way further in. I've actually got further away from my compass. Now I'm going into like talk to the bug witch.
Oh no. Well, I mean, bug witch does sound pretty interesting.
I mean, that is true. Save here. Like shaman? Oh, I forgot. Snail shaman.
There we go.
The snails are mollusks. They're actually more closely related to like clams and like octopus and squid. Oh ho! Who is that creeping out of the darkness? My, you're looking grim. A strange empty face and a wicked-looking weapon. Something important has drawn you down into Hallownest's corpse, but I don't ask a what. Perhaps the reason you found me is because you need my help. Say no more, friend. I'm going to give you a gift, a nasty little spell of my own creation. It's just perfect for a little one like you. Nasty little spell. Going. Maya. Consumed the vengeful spirit.
Oh boy, this is goth.
Right? Like it's chibi goth. Oh, you've woken at last. I apologize. Perhaps I should have warned you about the power of that spell. I was watching over you as you slept, but seemed to have slipped away myself. Oh. Now you're awake. I was wondering whether you would do me a small favor. Not as repayment for my gift, of course, simply because we're now friends. You see, a horrible great beast has made its home in the heart of this temple. Such disrespect. I'd be quite grateful if you were to venture deeper in and slay it for me. It's a hardy creature, but with your new powers, you're more than a match for it. Good luck with this small favor, my friend. That kind of laughing makes me think of the anime kind of like face where they're like, they have their hand up to them. Yeah.
It's a very Lord Frieza thing you just did there, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You know what? This leveled approach that you were talking about, the Metroid Castlevania type approach, it does remind me of searching in that sometimes you come across things early on that actually are important, but you haven't really explored the topic enough to know it yet. So it's like you haven't reached the level that you can access this new thing.
Or like you don't have the ability, you don't have the jump dash in the air, or you don't have the like projectile thing like this to like fight certain monsters to get to certain places.
Exactly.
Advanced. So your advanced search skills there are like, endgame content. That's what we're saying. Like usually when you're just starting out with like learning how to search, like, just be familiar with some of the databases, be familiar with some of the search terms you want to use, and try to like play around with synonyms, and then like try to use like some basic Boolean operators like and or quotation marks around your search to get specifically that phrase.
Oh, and our discovery layer, if you go to advanced search, will help you with that. So you can just put in your phrase, say if you want it to be in the title or just a keyword, or if it's the author's name, and then it'll give you additional boxes, and it will give you prompts for your Boolean operator to connect them with.
Yeah. Because that's a really good way. Because like as we tell people, like first off, you're going to find that your first searches are going to return a bajillion results, and then you start like peeling layers away from there.
And I would say an earlier thing to know too is to not use what I would just call noise words. I'm sure there's an actual word for it, but so the topic, you know, when you're asking a question, if I were just to ask a question the way I would naturally ask it, that's called natural speech. But I wouldn't include words like should XYZ be legal, right? I would just include the keywords from the search. So not should, not be, because those things can bring back a bunch of extra.
They're very or not gender. Yeah. General terms. I talk about gender too much sometimes.
Eliminate your noise is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So you get back more of the hits that you do want. Yeah. Oh, there you are. Okay, mini boss. Oof. Oof.
Interesting combination of topics going on today.
Indeed. Inspect.
Those research guides are really important too, though, because, you know, I did the English class today, but I've done legal research for so long that I would, you know, even though research was my job, I wouldn't know where to start on another subject.
Indeed, yeah. They're one of the things that, like, just because a research guide is associated with a librarian doesn't necessarily mean that that librarian was the one who designed it, but it is really helpful for us to get our bearings, because oftentimes librarians are, like, our domains kind of shift, the kind of our liaison areas can shift, so, like, it helps us also get kind of oriented to help you better. Still, you did what had to be done. You have my gratitude, of course. We both know you wouldn't have made it through without that spell of mine. No! And look, the gate between us is opened. Oh, I'm sure you're eager to move on. Farewell and have faith. Whatever you are seeking, it will find you. Oh.
Wow, that was ominous.
Press this button with my charm. More souls. I'm kind of a bit like a bug vampire in this game. I get my power from, like, consuming other bugs.
Well, I'm a big fan of bats, personally, so as much as I dislike mosquitoes, I try to tell myself they're there for the bats, you know?
Yeah.
You're just destroying the light now? That's your goal?
Honestly, that's one of the things about some games. The only way I can interface with the world is by smacking it. Sorry I missed you. If you're feeling lost, why not pop up to our store in Dirtmouth? Okay, yeah, now I can finally get there. Because I remember this place because I spent so much time wandering around here. I'm like, oh yeah, now I know where the entrance is.
You keep saying Dirtmouth, and I know that, but I keep hearing Dartmouth.
I mean, honestly, that was, you know, yeah. Michelle also spent some time in Nova Scotia, so, like, that's the thing. Shoot. Bounce. What are we doing for time? Oh, we still got a bit. Ba-doop. Yeah. Let's see. Ascend.
I think the one I've been worried about most often here is ticks. I keep hearing.
Oh yes, ticks. That is definitely a thing, and like as climate changes, their ranges are changing and spreading, and also the explosion in the deer population, right? Because deer ticks are particularly bad for humans, and so that's related too.
Oh.
So there's all sorts of interrelated ecological forces, and some ticks can actually make you allergic to beef. I actually had a friend who got bitten by a tick, and then if she had beef, she'd have seizures. It was really intense.
Oh, that's not a mild allergy. I was
Nope.
thinking maybe hives.
Oh, no. Nope.
Bapanada.
Papanada. I love her, like, way of speaking. Zelda. Come to buy my map, have you? It's really my husband you should be dealing with. Oh, what a surprise. He's headed down below. He'll pop back occasionally to deliver new maps for the store, but I do wish he'd spend a little more time up here. I've not much interest in retail myself. Oh, now let's see what's here for me to sell. Oh, Wayward Compass. Oof, there. Now I can actually see where I am at the map. Because, you know, some people have better senses of direction than others. It's always good to have a map. All sorts of things to update my navigation, right? Because I don't know, like, if you're playing all kinds of games, I don't know about you, but, like, my navigation stuff is some of the first stuff I upgrade, because I'm like, I need that.
Yeah. This is also interesting. You're getting some background marital issues with the bugs.
Also, yes. What's her name again?
Bapanada.
Oh, she's not super impressed with her husband.
No. And her husband definitely doesn't realize it.
Yeah. Also, notice how the house has spectacles, like him.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh my! Let's equip that compass, shall we? Wayward compass. Oof. All right. How are folks doing? The chat's a little bit quiet today. That's all right. Whee.
People don't want to think that much about bugs. What?
I know some people really do.
Some people, definitely not me. I don't want to talk about Well, how did you get into bees?
I mean, the short answer is like autistic vibes, but the long answer is that for a very long time I've been quite interested in, you know, unconventional forms of intelligence in nature. You know, things like cephalopods that aren't mammals but are incredibly intelligent. Things like corvids, you know, crows and magpies and ravens, who again aren't mammals but are incredibly intelligent. I got into slime molds, and actually, when students have to like go through my information literacy sessions, I actually use a slime mold metaphor to talk about the search process. And I mean, like, social insects were just kind of like another logical member of that strange alien intelligence kind of category that I really got into. Also, there was definitely like a big bee movement there back like a few years ago, where like everyone was talking about the bees, kind of like the start of the early understanding of colony collapse disorder.
Yeah, I remember a lot of articles coming out about that.
So, like, you know, I've only really been into bees for the past like 7 or 8 years. Yeah. And, you know, like when I was working at the Lakeshore Grounds Interpretive Center, I got really into bee hotels before realizing that they're also very problematic in their own ways.
Oh, are they?
For a range of reasons, yes. Because most people don't realize is that, first of all, bee motels, like real motels, need to be cleaned. Otherwise, they are gross and spread diseases to the bees that you're trying to help, which a lot of people don't do when they make bee hotels. Also, increasingly, because of invasive species and whatnot, a whole bunch of things that aren't the native bees that you're trying to support are often more likely to move into the hotel than the bees are. So it's a nice idea, but like there is no substitute for just like leaving your leaf litter and like leaving fallen logs and stuff. Like, again, talking about like, you know, forestry practices, because we're a big forestry area. Like, oh, another big one. I'll just finish this thought before fighting them. That there's been numerous studies about like how important actually fallen like timber and wood is for ecosystems, and in fact, like, we probably, for the sake of the ecosystem, should be leaving about a third of the fallen lumber stay where it falls, just be a habitat for all kinds of different important insect species and salamanders and small vertebrates and invertebrates of all kinds, where these bees tend to live historically. All right, let's do this.
I would suspect that part of the reason that the forestry industry doesn't do that today is that we're having such a problem with wildfires because we haven't allowed any burns for so long that things are just out of control now.
I mean, that is also true, yeah. Aha! There we go. Oh, hey, Sluggo friend, a caterpillar friend. Freedom for caterpillars. He says. I did that for Michelle's sake because I can't hear the sound.
And I appreciate that.
Live caterpillar reaction.
Well, you know I'm on Tumblr. Okay.
Nice shoelaces. Where'd you get them?
Thanks, I got them from the president.
Oh my, wow, that's so niche. That's so niche. Got them or stole them? Yeah.
It's all right. 2 to 3 people will get it.
Mm-hmm. Actually, one thing like I've started doing is actually dodging that first of all. Second of all, is in some library conferences putting up a link to my like library Tumblr account, and I've actually gotten librarians like responding to me on it. So like, it's very niche, but some of us exist there. It's definitely like big neurodivergent vibes.
Well, I think the only Twitter that I absolutely love is the SparkNotes Twitter, and it really feels like it should be your account. Yeah, they'll post things, and it's very close to librarianship, right? Because they're the literary place.
Yeah.
But they'll post things like, oh, so when other people wear a mask to go outside and give singing lessons on the side, they're working through the pandemic. But when I, the Phantom of the Opera...
Good stuff. Yeah, like some... Like, there's a weird Dadaist humor to a lot of internet spaces that, like, I think that people who aren't, like, you know, millennials or younger don't fully connect with, which is a thing. Like, not saying no one, but like, oh, I can't get you, I need a jump dash to get this caterpillar friend free. Yeah. Oh. Can I shoot it? Probably not. No. Oh, okay. Which is tricky, right? Because the only other time I've seen that in history is actually if you look at the time between the wars, a lot of that like Tumblr internet humor, you could see in newspapers and stuff and in like cultural documents. There was something about the intense anxiety of the interwar period that led to both Dadaism as a movement and this kind of like absurd non sequitur that kind of like has recurring motifs or themes, but is still kind of like just weird and abstract. Like that goes through historical like patterns. I don't want to go now. So yeah, like different generations have different kind of senses of humor. Different cultures have different senses of humor. There's actually like there's all sorts of different ways to study the social effects of humor, which I think is really interesting. It's like, you know, I mean, not to be political on Maine, but like when like criticisms of Trump, for instance, talked about like the way he'd say only joking, and like I remember this kind of scholar of like the history of humor talking about like the social function of humor. And why, you know, actually, you know, humor does serve a very important... where am I going? I'm going to go to that. Does serve a very important social role because, you know, part of the thing about telling a joke is seeing who's laughing at the joke, seeing who's kind of like someone kind of like you, seeing what kind of things are like okay to talk about in certain ways. It is almost like a lot of joking is kind of exploratory about like who are my people and, you know, like what, or alternatively, what can I get away with in testing the water. So there's a lot of different kind of social functions to humor.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And it's really interesting that you bring up generational humor because I know it's bizarre to me when I watch the Three Stooges or even something more recent than that, like the Blues Brothers. It has some funny moments for me, but in general, I don't get it. I feel like I'm missing something that is making this so funny for so many other people.
Or so yeah, various cultural contexts. Like I've heard it said that actually The Simpsons does not translate well into like Chinese, into the Chinese cultural framework. That they're just like, I don't know if it's true or not. I should stress, like I have not. Feel free to fact check me on that one. But I've heard it said that just the cultural context can be so different that a lot of Chinese viewers are like, why do Westerners like this?
Well, it's funny because, you know, you see something from, say, the early 80s, and I'm confused about why it's funny.
Yeah.
But I read some notes, like some marginalia from the medieval period, and I'm like, this monk who was bored at midnight was hilarious.
This is kind of, oh, bury the knight with her broken nail, bury the priest. Something about a crown. I can't remember the rest of that one. Oh, maybe I'll just hum it. And like Michelle, like they're humming this really kind of endearing. Bum 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 bum.
Oh, they're humming a cute song about you being dead. That's neat.
I mean, I think so. I guess I'll perish.
Well, there we are. We're at 9 o'clock.
Alrighty, or 8 o'clock?
On my Alberta computer. I'm
there
sorry.
we go. Fair. Alrighty. So yeah, pretty bit of a wild one tonight. But that was Hollow Nest. Let us know either on the YouTube or in the chat or just from emailing me whether or not you'd like us to continue on with Hollow Knight, or if you'd like us to explore other video games, or if you have research and reference questions you'd like to ask, or things about video games, various video game themes and research themes. Whatever, we just like to talk with you folks. Mm-hmm.
Or if you want more bug facts, but even grosser next time.
if no pressure. If you also want less bug facts that are less gross, also let us know. That particular
we can do
case.
That bee episode. I have many more questions about you and the bees.
If you really wanted to go full bee, we can go full bee. But I want to prepare. I want to have time to prepare for that one, because I'm not going to like half posterior my bees.
That sounds very intense. If you want to go full bee, we can go full bee.
Be serious. Oh, there's so many bee puns. That's inevitable. All right. Well, if there's interest, I will also like get the bee simulator and then do a lot more. Just check my notes, check my research, check my bee facts. We can do that. Maybe not next week, perhaps the week after, because I want time to prepare, but also I'm going to a conference. Anyway, I'll sort that out off stream. Thank you everyone for coming. I hope you have a lovely evening, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Cheers.
See you next week, guys.